Hi everyone, Lisa here from Forest City Stitching. I hope everyone had a great week. Let's get started with what's on my rods here, and yeah, then we'll get into it. So this here is the Friends and Family Sal, as I hit myself in the face with it. There we go. Friends and Family Sal by Linen and Thread, so Fox and Rabbit. This is a 2020 Mystery Sal. So itchy Flosstube nose right off the bat. Probably doesn't look a whole lot different than when you saw it last. So I'm working on this motif here. And so this is a Whip Go project as well. I think it would be, I don't know if it was all the way back in February, but it was a previous month Whip Go call at one point. So I want to get the month allotment done for it. Hopefully before it comes off of these row rods. So might be slow going because I haven't really worked on it all that much. I did work on it, that piece, just this afternoon during our monthly Canada chats. So it was nice to see a bunch of familiar faces on the Canada chats this afternoon. Thank you, Karen, for hosting it as always. Always a nice afternoon for sure. Yeah, so I have not very many projects. I only have 3. Just trying to figure out if that's correct. I think so. Nope, I think I put one away that I shouldn't have. Yeah, I did. So there's one that you're not going to see. Yeah, because I was cleaning up my bin and I had stuff from last week that I hadn't yet put away. So the one that I put away was Santa's Trips. Yes, I believe that's what it's titled. It was a Barbara Anna Sal, probably around the 2020 time frame as well. So I did put some stitches into that. That is also a Whip Go call. Yes. Yeah, so if I remember, I will pull that back out and pop it into my bin so I remember it for next week, but no promises. Yeah, so not a lot of stitching this week. I got a good amount done in the projects that I pulled, but definitely not mania stitching. Also, our week looked a little bit different because my husband was a bit under the weather. And so I was basically a single parent for a few days. On Monday night, he was complaining about a sore ear and throat situation. So I said, well, if it's not better, you should call the doctor. He, of course, didn't call the doctor till Wednesday morning. He was off Wednesday. We have a very good doctor, and he fit him in before they closed for the day on Wednesday. Wednesday was a short day for them, so they closed at noon. They got him in at noon, so went there. He was given some antibiotics. Said, yeah, it looked like there's a little bit of infection or a little bit of redness, I guess in his throat, and possibly his ear. Again, this is, third-hand knowledge is what I'm getting here. So that's fine. He starts taking the antibiotics, but then he proceeds to literally be unable to do anything for the rest of the day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so I'm getting a little frustrated because if it's just an ear infection or a sore throat, like you should be able, like you're not completely incapacitated is what my thought is, right? And so I keep saying perhaps you should go back to the doctor or go to the emergency room, if you're really this unwell. Because literally he couldn't get out of bed. He was like sleeping constantly. Yeah. So finally, and he couldn't talk or eat or, yeah. And so finally, like Friday throughout the night, he was kind of monitoring the wait times at the emergency room. And then, as was I when I woke up in the middle of the night. And so they were still outrageous. So our doctor has a walk-in clinic on the Saturday morning for his patients. So he went to that for 9 when they opened. And then while my son and I were grocery shopping, we got a text saying they told him to go to the ER. So, okay. So we get done grocery shopping and give him a call to see what's going on. And he had an abscess in the back of his mouth/throat that needed to be drained and taken care of. So he was put on an IV with saline, a steroid, antibiotic, and a painkiller. And then they were possibly going to send him for a CT scan because he couldn't open his mouth because he was in so much pain. But after a little bit of the IV, he was able to get his mouth open so they could really see what they were working with. And then an ENT, he had to wait for an ENT to come and, get that looked after. So he is much better today. Saturday he left to go to the walk-in clinic for 9, and then he was probably home by 3 o'clock-ish. So all in all, not too bad. He said he was very impressed with, the service he received at the emergency room and the nurses. He's not one that has had to go to the hospital very often. So, yeah, so, we definitely got our money's worth out of that visit of our taxpayers' dollars. So, very happy that everything went as smoothly as it did. And now he is on the mends. By the time my son and I got home from our baseball game yesterday, he was taking a load of laundry down. So, the fact that 2 days prior, I couldn't even get him to take the garbage out to the curb, with leaps and bounds that he was back to the world of the living. Because it wasn't like I was trying to ask him to do, laborious tasks or anything. Just, very, very simple things. But yeah, so he does still have some discomfort, obviously, because it does take some time for things in your mouth to heal. So he's on different antibiotics, and he has a mouthwash that like numbs his mouth that he's supposed to use before he eats and sleeps. Except then he can't, like, he's where he's gonna choke on something because he can't feel his throat. So yeah, so he's still not eating a ton, but yeah, he is 300 times better than he was yesterday morning. So yeah, so that just, took some, changes to my schedule and my routine, because I was basically on my own for everything. He was able still to take my son to school, though he felt that it was difficult for him to turn his neck, but he was still able to get him to school during the worst of his health concerns. But yeah. So it wasn't. So the moral of the story is to listen to your wife when she says, perhaps you should go back to the doctor. Because usually, I think most of you ladies will agree, usually we are right when we are predicting these circumstances. So, yeah, we understand that, man colds are very, very difficult. But when you can't move from the bed at all, then perhaps it's time to go back to the doctor or go to the hospital. So that is how, our week was. So glad to have him on the mends. And yeah, my son had a baseball game. He had a baseball game Thursday night, so I was on my own for that one. And then the one on Thursday night was in Thamesford, so that's about a half an hour from me. And we didn't get home until like 9 o'clock at night, so there's a lot of things that I had to do by the time I got home and get to bed and all that stuff. So that game was okay. They lost that game by 1. And then Saturday, we had a game. We also had pitcher day at the field. So we ordered him some trading cards. And that game, they won. So that is good. That game is starting to feel like, they're learning how to play baseball. So that is all that's new in our world here. Hence why the lesser amount of stitches and the fact that it's more difficult for me to remember what I worked on. Oh, also, this morning I ran the 5K at the Forest City Road Races. It was warm. My legs are very tired. My training wasn't the greatest. I think I probably mentioned that most of the time when I've been going out for runs lately. There's been a lot more walking involved. So I just need to push through the mental block and do a better job of my training. Also, my left calf, definitely the tightness is hindering, like it is causing my left foot to go numb after about 2 kilometers. And so I kind of diagnosed that on my run this morning, because once I was able to kind of stretch it out, everything would be fine again for a period of time, and then I'd have to stretch it again. So need to work on, and I can definitely tell my left calf is very very tight. So yeah. Okay, well, we're 13 minutes in and you've hardly seen any stitching. So let's look at some stitching, because I'm sure most of you have turned this off. Brought out light. From Barbara Anna. Yeah, so like a little bit of a Barbara Anna heavy week. And I mainly work down here. So that's coming together nicely. So this was my purse stitch for last year. My purse stitch this year is my Tails End project. And actually, I needed to add some more tail ends. I've used almost all my tail ends up from last year, and I'm still not finished that piece. So I had some tail ends down here that I threw into my little stitchy pouch that's in my purse. So that's been updated. Okay, Blueberry J. this is looking. So I worked mainly on filling in his tail, I think, is the main difference. That look is looking very good. It was a night at the museum. Not night at the museum. Midnight Museum After Midnight. That's the name of it. That's the new style from Lola Crow. The first exhibit was released, and I meant to look up what all this is, and I completely forgot. But that's kind of what the first little archway, what's coming into play there. There's also more that was released over here, but clearly my frame is not done. So that's what I've done so far. So that, and this is all that's been released in this little arch. So that arch is mainly complete for right now, until something else is added. I'm sure there will be more added. All right, I think our dinner has arrived based on my driveway app. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great week. There's the barking to confirm. And yeah, we'll see you next week, hopefully with a little bit more stitching and not so much personal health updates. But I feel that it is good to talk about these things, especially when you think something is one thing and then it's not. So just so people are aware of, or can keep things in the back of their head, right? If someone's experiencing something similar or know someone that they should go get it checked out. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.